Okay, so welcome to everyone and everyone that's catching up with the replay. My name is Claire Venus. I am an engagement consultant who has been on holiday for a couple of weeks. So I'm just saying to everybody that's here live that I just feel a little bit off center. There's been a big moon, there's been a lot going on, and I just feel like my communications have slipped a little bit. So I apologize to anybody that didn't get the right time. It was because I had a chat with some people who really wanted to make it from overseas, and I slid the time, and then I obviously forgot to tell anybody that I'd done that and just updated the post. So welcome if you're joining us live. I'm so glad to see you. You can share your Substack publication URL in the chat and chat amongst yourselves. I'd really love you to do that and connect if there feels a space for a natural connect. That would be amazing. I'm going to share screen and we can chat through any sort of questions you've got about your Substacks or anything that you're stuck on, any techniques or tools that you'd like to know about that I've used. We'll do the first bit of the session like that, and then I'll go into the content for today's session. So this content is really driven by my conversations with all of the people that I chat to across my Substacks and my one-to-one clients. So they're telling me what they get stuck on, and they're telling me how hard things are. And I really I'm so passionate about us finding our creative voice and staying true to our own kind of lane and sticking with our true north on Substack and not kind of getting swept up in comparison. So I really want to teach tools and techniques that I've used over the years, both for myself, but with clients as well. So today's session, I was going to go into a little bit about our who and why. So why we're writing on Substack right here and now, why we've chosen this platform, and who we're writing for, including writing for ourselves, because let's face it, there is definitely something that is quite beautiful and cathartic about being able to just put pen to paper and, you know, type out what you want to type out into the world. That's a very powerful act. And we're going to touch a little bit on content ecosystem stuff, because this has come up a lot. It's come up a lot around, okay, I'm doing okay on Substack, but should I be sharing it across social media? How should that all fit? What shall I do around that? So we are going to have some conversation around that and just kind of share ideas. I'll share what's been working for me over the last sort of 16, 17 months, and what has fallen flat, and just be really honest about that sort of stuff. So just to kick off, and feel free to keep sharing in the chat, has anyone got any questions that they want to ask about Substack? You can speak if you'd like to speak, or you can use the chat to kind of type it out. Anything that you feel stuck on, anything that you might like my expertise about, anything I can help with. I had one question that I'll go into while you're having a think, which was about plugging Substack into an existing website on Squarespace. Now, I don't use Squarespace, but the principle is the same everywhere. There is, in the back office of Substack, some code that you can just copy and paste into your own website, and that code will make a pop-up box for people to put their email addresses in, that then talks to Substack and puts them into your Substack. So that's what I have on mine. I don't have any space where people would sign up to my old MailChimp anymore. I'm just trying to kind of use MailChimp for more segmentation with client work. So all of the spaces that people can put their email address into on my website link to one of my Substack publications, depending on which one's relevant for that. And it was pretty easy to do. You know, I'm not a website designer, but I just literally copied and pasted the code. I did have to delete part of the frame because it just looked a bit quirky. But I just tried deleting some of that code, and it worked, and it works, and it's fine. So I think sometimes we can kind of be put off by thinking this is going to be really difficult to do. But honestly, given that I used to use WordPress and it was a headache every time I opened the thing, it's quite easy to do a sign up on your own website with the Substack code. So if you want to do that and you've been wanting to do that, then go and find it in settings. I'll try and make a video of how to do it at some point, but honestly, it's dead easy. If I found it easy, then everybody will. So hopefully that answers the question from the person that asked that in the chat. I'm not sure whether they're here, actually. I just quickly noted that question down as I saw it last minute. But does anyone have any questions? I'll check the chat. Just put in all your lovely links, and that's lovely. Does anyone want to ask a question before we get started on some session work? Give everyone a minute.
I've got one.
Hello, hi Sarah.
Like, oh, I'm not on mute anyway.
I know,
Hello.
I think I just had my personal meeting room, everyone was unmuted. I was like, oh, this is nice. Well, I'll just have a lovely chat.
Yeah. Lovely to meet you.
Yeah,
After
it's
seeing
nice
you
to meet you
on.
as well. Hi.
Hi. I think I'm put a question somewhere, but sometimes I'm struggling to tag people
Mhm.
on post. Do you get that? Because I know
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really important collaboration, isn't it? And share it. If you see a nice post or you want to tag somebody, and sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. I don't know if I'm
Mhm.
doing something wrong or
So is that on notes or in posts or both?
in notes. I can do it on posts
Yeah,
most of the time. And I
yeah.
know there's a publication when I try and put at and then their name, sometimes can you use a publication name or do you just can use the person's
Yeah,
name?
it depends how they've got it set up. So when you're in a post, their publication will pop up, but when you're in notes, it doesn't. It's whatever they've chosen as their handle. So I wrote about it in today's email that just went
Ah,
out. So it went out this morning, and I did answer your question as well. So it's slightly glitchy in that if you just delete the at on your when you're on notes, if you've tagged them before in notes, if you just backspace and delete that at and write the at again, it should come up. That's what's been working for me. So, when you're like, I've definitely tagged them before, that would be really nice to do that again. It's just a case of like, come on, Substack, it's all whirring away in the background. And then on posts, you can tag the writer or the publication using the at symbol, but they haven't brought that in for notes yet. They just have brought in the writer handle. But the person has to have the writer handle switched on. And lots of people just didn't know to do that. They just missed it because there's so many updates all the time. So yes, try that and let me know how that goes for you. But if they've got the handle switched on in their bio, then you should be able to tag them, no problem.
And I don't know if my handle's switched on. I think it is. How is that in settings?
Yeah, so it's in your writer. When you write your writer bio, so
Yeah.
who you are as a writer, it's there. It's like just
Okay.
underneath that. So it's
Okay.
there. But if you can't find it, I can send you a screenshot or I can share my screen at the end if you
Okay.
wanted to have a double check. Because Substack can be quite confusing with settings as well, because you go into settings and you're in the settings of your publication, but you want to be in the settings of your writer profile rather than your
Yeah, I'm there, and
publication.
it just says at Sarah Reese, so that's
Yeah.
my handle.
Yeah, so
I've got
you're
it switched
there.
on.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for asking that. Was there anything else, or has anyone else got any questions? Techie stuff they're stuck with, anything related to the session, or could just get stuck in? Okay, good, good, good. Okay, no problem. So we're going to talk a little bit about who and why and content ecosystem stuff, and then we're going to dive into doing some focused work. We'll go on mute, we'll do some focused work, and then we'll come back together, because I think when we're on the Substack platform, there might be other stuff bubbles up for you as we're doing the work. But the who and why thing has come up because so many people, when I surveyed them after they'd done my masterclass back in March, were telling me that they'd either got stuck, they weren't growing, or they were kind of just hitting this wall of comparison where they'd had an idea and they ran with it, but they kind of ran out of steam. So it's partly to talk to that, but it's partly to talk to that space of, if we are wanting to build our profile on Substack and grow what we're doing there in terms of depth of connection and grow who we are as writers and grow our craft and enhance our creative experience there, we really need to be thinking about who we're talking to. And so all the marketing consultation that I've had from kind of proper marketing buffins will get you to talk about your ideal client. So this ideal client, this person, where do they shop, where do they live, what car do they drive? And it always really scuppered me. I was like, I don't know, I don't really mind what car they drive. I don't know why is that important. Like, I just couldn't get it. So I do things a different way. And there's been so many times when people have said, do they shop at Waitrose or Sainsbury's? I'm like, probably both. I don't know. Like, it just literally didn't work for me. So what I do is I write for 3 people, 2 that I know in real life and 1 that I've got to know online. So I don't actually know them. And if you've ever had that thing where you've met somebody that you've been chatting to online for years, and then there's the real person, and then there's the online person that you thought they were, you're like, wait, that's 2 completely different people, now the same person. So that's why I write for 1 person that I only know online and 2 people that I know in real life. So when I sit down to write my notes from the sea, which was my first ever newsletter that I put out in the world, the first time I'd kind of written long form and was like playing around with blogs and that sort of thing, I was writing my newsletter to people that I knew in real life, and that was crushing. Like, it was like, oh no, like I looked at the email addresses before I was writing it and I was thinking, this is terrifying. Like, all of these people, are they going to read it? What they're going to think? Like, these are parts of myself that I'm unearthing that feel really scary, because they don't really know this stuff about my life. Like, it's not stuff, you know, you don't always get a chance to chat about it, or maybe it's from the past, or there's all of these sorts of things. So it was quite a practice of just showing up and being okay with writing for these two people that I knew in real life and this one person online, and kind of ignoring the other names. Now, I don't know whether that chimes with you, but it felt too enormous for me to write to. And it was at the time maybe about a mailing list of like 150 or something building up. It felt terrifying, and I just got stage fright. So I just had to ignore most of the people on the list and just write for those people. So what I did, and this worked really well for me, and you might have seen this before, is I just drew like a little gingerbread person out, and I wrote down everything that I thought I knew about these people. So how my writing might connect with them. So if they like traveling, if they like slow lived life, if they maybe like baking, if they were into gardening, like I would have all of that written down about the things that they liked and what they were about. Now, again, back to the marketing coaching, people would always say, how old is this person? And I honestly, again, like, I just think that trips us up. Like, so the work that I did with the consultant, we ended up where my ideal client was like 10 years younger than me, but that's not correct. Like, not really, that's not how things have panned out, and not how things continue to pan out. So again, I've thrown that away, and the two people that I write to, I just write about how old they are. But I really don't think that it's about age. It's about connection, and it's about our energies meeting. So I really don't, I just can't connect to that either. So I do write that down, but that's just more for me, like, so that I can, if I'm referencing things from my past and there's like a reference to like 90s music or something, if I know whether they might connect to that or not, it's just interesting to me. So there's two like that are about the people that I know in real life, and then another one for the person that I know online. So you know less about the people online, but you tend to get to know people quite quickly on Substack if they're writing kind of memoir-based writing, and you kind of pick up on things and you can have those lovely depths of connection with them. So there can be bits and bobs that you might know about them. And then when you sit back to kind of write to that person, you can kind of hold them in your heart, you can hold them in your thoughts. And if you're stuck at any point when you're doing your writing and any of that comparison sort of starts sneaking in, then you've got it. The other thing that's really important to do is know why you're doing your writing, because if you've got a fire in your belly about why you're showing up to the keyboard, you know, you've got a thought or a phrase or something comes to you when you're driving and you're desperate to get it out in the world, where is that why coming from? So I would just love us just like literally for 7 minutes just to go into one of those exercises. We'll not have time for both, but if you just choose whichever one felt interesting and good to you, whether it's the gingerbread people one, and you can kind of do a little bit of research and think about a person that you might write to and like to write to. And then the why, like, why are we showing up? Why are we writing? Why now? Like, why is it important now to be writing long form? And I think having this almost like a manifesto to ourselves really helps if we're struggling for words, if we're struggling with consistency, if we're struggling to fit it in, because we come back and circle back to our why, and we're like, no, this is important. It's important for me, but it's also important for the world right now. And it undoes some of that kind of subconscious work where we might have kind of taken on self-limiting beliefs that our voice isn't important or it doesn't matter. We need to try and move that out the way gently so we can kind of really keep connected to kind of the reason and the source as to why we're showing up. So if that's okay, has anyone got any questions before we dive in and do a little bit of journaling together? Everyone all right? Feel free to put anything in the chat as we go. I'd love to hear from you. But what I'll do is I'll just bring us back together in around about 7 minutes. So just see where you get to, and I'll give you a little time check as well halfway. I'll go on mute, and I hope everybody is anyway, but yeah, I'll go on mute now. So just about 3 more minutes. Just sorry, Jolene's missed the prompt there. So Jolene, we're writing about our why. So why we are writing on Substack right here and now, why it feels important. We're kind of delving into some of that space around why we've decided to show up. And we're also holding in our heads, or alternatively writing for the people that we want to write to. So we're kind of investigating who those people are, who are our readers. So we're just choosing one that we might know in real life. Hopefully you do know someone in real life, and we're writing some of the connects as to why they might want to read our work. So either or. I'm sorry I missed your message. Okay, so we'll come back together now. Would anybody like to share anything that came up for them? I'm really happy to talk my stuff through, but I don't want it just to be about me. It's a community, you know, you're so welcome. Anything is welcome, you know, anything that felt difficult, anything that didn't connect, as well as the stuff that worked. So feel free to shout in if you'd like to. If not, I'll just tell you my stuff. That's no problem. Okay. Hopefully as we do a few more sessions, people might want to, but I'll tell you what I wrote down for my why. Now, I do this exercise every 3 months because it changes. If you give yourself space, long form, if you give yourself space in a notebook that nobody sees, your voice changes. Like, it is just magic. So I think it's really worth doing this every few months. Or thanks, Jackie. I'll do this really quick run through and then Jackie's going to share with us, which is amazing. So my why, as it came out today, just in the here and now, was around, and I do it like this if anyone's interested how I do my visual journaling, is that it's about creativity for me. Substack is a creative outlet. It's a community. It offers connection. It offers self-expression. It offers the opportunity for me to do teaching and share my gifts. I find that I get a lot from the spiritual connects that I have there. It's a generous space. It's part of my business. It's to rekindle my truth and my voice and my connection to source, and that I'm on the way to memoir. So I didn't know when I started writing Substack that I might want to write some sort of memoir, but I feel like I do know that about myself now, but it's not yet. So on the way to memoir is what I wrote there. Jackie, would you like to share with us?
Is it all right if I share what I've written? Like the whole
Yeah,
thing?
that'd be amazing. Yeah, so good.
Okay, so I did the why right as well. So I wrote, we live in an increasingly polarized world where people are separated into right or wrong, adored or cancelled. But the truth is, we're all human beings with light and shade who have their different human tricky things. I'm sick of a society which labels people. We're encouraged to be automatons. Our emotional experience has been given the poor shorthand of mental health, and our emotional discomfort as disorder. Where's the granularity of the human experience? I write to break the unspoken rules of don't talk, don't trust, don't feel. I use my poetry and psychological insight as a way to reflect back, to remind people of the human experience, to reassure that it's okay. My Substack is a therapeutic poet, using poetry about the everyday and then offering ways to learn about or reframe our human tricky things. I develop permission to feel, which is a sub-bit of it, to help us see our feelings as macronutrients for the soul, something to feed our life, to make it richer, deeper, and have more meaning, rather than apologize away our humanness.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. I loved all of that stuff around the human experience and that permission, you know, just kind of going, it's all right. And actually what we've been listening to and what we've been told, that really connected. Yeah. I feel like I looked at your stuff, was it a couple of weeks ago? And I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what that is. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very clear. How did it feel writing it?
Yeah, it's nice. I've really been working on this at the moment to try and exactly what you were saying about like who's my sort of target audience and things. And for me, it's come down to values and kind of, but it's really hard to hit the sweet spot of people to kind of go, I get it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's such a really random thing. On the one side it's poetry, and on the other side it's like psychology, and kind of it's like, what are you doing? So
I think is poetry the vehicle of connection. So yes, it's rooted in theories and your own experiences and your own education, but is poetry just the point of where it can connect with people? Like here it is, like that's how it's packaged up. So it's almost, in a way, it's almost more accessible than an academic article on the same topic or the same struggle would be, because poetry is an invite, isn't it? It's
that's it. It's kind of like the poetry bit's like the heart connect, and the explanation afterwards is like the head, you know, it's head and heart. It's kind of like, oh, okay, let me make sense of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that is really lovely to do on Substack is just try and invite audiences in to kind of comment and have a say on how it kind of spoke to them. So sometimes there is some nervousness around commenting when there isn't a paywall in place. Other times people like to just like click a poll. So I don't know whether you've tried polls yet, Jackie, but I find them really helpful, especially if I know that people will be nervous about maybe responding, or they're not sure, you know, what the right answer would be. That kind of invitation, you know, how did this make you feel? And then you can kind of put some different options in a poll or comment below.
One big mistake I've made is that the Permission to Feel series I've done as a paid subscription, and I don't have that many subscribers. And now I kind of feel like I really missed it. I went in too early. Do you know what I mean? And actually, it's something that I'd like to share with. So I normally do a preview, but you know, it's kind of, I feel like I've sort of shot myself in the foot a bit.
It's really hard, isn't it? Because what Substack say is that your Substack is your Substack, and then your paid subscriptions are like the backstage pass. But I think as creatives, we've often kind of gone, oh, but the paid can have this, 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 and this. And then in front of the paywall, it's this. And again, I think it's this kind of craft of the two things coming together. So over on Creatively Conscious, I still write notes from the sea, which is for everyone. But then this year, I launched Project Bloom, which is much more around the way we live our life, the way my business works, my well-being. And I wouldn't be comfortable sharing that more deeply than that, but you know, maybe in a year I will write an article about that stuff, and it'll be kind of a standalone. So it gives me that safe space to experiment with people who I know are very, very supportive of me and have been really supportive of the challenges that we've had. I think when you've got something that you would like more eyes on, it's a challenge the way that you've set it up, but you definitely haven't shot yourself in the foot, because you've given yourself that safe space to grow it, and then to know, actually, this is resonating, but with fewer people that I'd like. So then you can remove the paywall, you know, maybe once a month you remove the paywall, and that can then encourage more.
That's what I've done, and the feedback, and I've got really positive feedback but actually that was by mistake. I just forgot.
Mistake, yeah, forgot to put it on. No, there's so many buttons. I'm with you, Jackie.
I love that. I was like, oh, why did you read that? How
did that happen? No, I know. But that's what you can do, and then obviously you can formalize it, and you won't upset your paid subscribers, because they're there because they want to support you and they want to support you to grow. So if you said, I'm actually going to make the first one every month free for everybody to read, or I've removed the paywalls. I've seen a couple of writers do this. I've removed the paywalls from everything for the weekend for you to read it all and just kind of binge read it all. There's lots of different approaches depending on, you know, the style of, so you can do that, or you can write them free, but automatically get them paywalled after a week or two. So there's that option as well. So there's a few ways to look at it, but when you go more into who your person is, and then deeper than that, who the person is who joins you behind the paywall, it might be clearer what to do with that series.
Yeah. No, but that like what you say about the people that are paying, I know that they're really supportive of me, and they wouldn't necessarily, you know, mind, but I guess it's about integrity as well, isn't it? You know. And
yeah, for sure. That's the thing. And I think it's just this whole kind of playing the long game of Substack. Like when we first join, we have to experiment with different ways of showing up and different ways of sharing our work. But then once we grow into that, it does become something else. And I think we're all realizing that as we go. So I think for the most part, especially paid subscribers who also use Substack, they kind of expect you to be kind of trying different things and working different ways out, because otherwise it stagnates, doesn't it? It's really hard to grow the paid subscriptions as it is. So you do need to kind of keep thinking outside the box of how to do that. I'll go to Jolene, if that's all right. Did you have a question, Jolene, or was it because of the exercise that you missed? Did you want to share?
No. I was when Jackie's finished, I can go ahead.
You're okay. I didn't know whether you wanted to talk to something that Jackie had said as well. So okay, great.
No, it's very helpful. Very helpful.
Oh, good. Jackie, was there anything else you wanted to round off with, or is that you?
Just as a question, I don't know if other people have got experience with this, but just people's experience of using notes, and I'm a bit worried about like flooding someone's inbox. I know what my inbox is like, and just what people's experience are of using that in order to grow their Substacks. I'd be really interested to hear people's experience.
Yeah, I think we should definitely talk about that, and we'll talk about that at the end. We'll do our bit of writing. I'll go to Jolene, we'll do a bit of writing, and then I'll talk to notes at the end, because there's a real consideration around balance, isn't there, and like how to take up space while it's still relatively quiet. So I'll make a note of that and we'll do that. But yes, Jolene, would you like to jump in? Is there anything that you'd like to say before we do some focused writing together?
Right, just really quickly, I'm very new at this, so I'm retired and I'm out of medicine, so I'm a big storyteller, and so I'm learning how to tell some of the stories. And I'm very new with logo and all of that. It's very, very new. So I'm just listening a lot and trying to gain information as to where to jump in officially. I've been watching and reading a lot of you, and just watching how it goes, because what I write and have written all along, I've written chapters to books, but it doesn't really translate as well into Substack reading. So I'm learning how to adjust that so it's interesting and fun.
Yeah, and I
That's all.
think keeping it fun for you, but also what I'd like to say, having been on the platform for about, I think it's about 17, 18 months now, you can do whatever you want to do on Substack. That's the joy of it. So it's definitely a platform for writers, but we're seeing more and more creatives join who wouldn't necessarily class themselves as writers. There are people serializing memoir, you know, there are people doing that behind the paywall, in front of the paywall, and then locking it off to kind of paid subscribers for the last chapters. There's all sorts of fun things going on. And I think that first and foremost, it's you. So it's you going, oh, hi, I'm here. I'm going to take up some space. I'm not quite sure how it's going to go. I've got these ideas. Do you want to come with me? And just being really honest about that. I think that kind of big, how we have to be polished and we have to know what it is right from the off. You know, we've got to get the logo and the brand sorted. Like, none of that really matters. Substack have made it really easy for us to just show up and write. And then all of the, what I call the faffy stuff, can be woven in later if we want, but it doesn't need to be. You know, there are people who, I mean, some of the best selling Substacks, this is their language, not mine, but this means they've got the most amount of paid subscribers. They don't use any faffy stuff. Like, they've still got all Substacks inbuilt kind of like logo-y stuff pulling through. So sometimes it's about just keep showing up and keep sharing what you want to share in written form. Sure, you know, play around with the formatting of the headings and that sort of thing and the buttons, but really it's just about getting that out there and seeing who's around and who wants to come with you. And I think your take of kind of observing how everybody else is doing it is really good, but it can soon become really overwhelming because loads of people are doing loads of different things, and that's like, wow, that's a lot of different things. So yeah, you could have a window of observations and then go, okay, I've kind of got enough now, I'll just show up as myself.
Oh, that's very helpful. Thank you. It is overwhelming.
It is. And so at the beginning, I didn't know anyone on the platform. My husband told me to join, so I joined. He was writing there, and a British writer called Emma Gannon, who I'd read her books. So she was just, you know, a writer, a best-selling writer. And that was kind of it. I was just like, oh, okay, so I'm just writing here. So I just really treated it like a blog almost. And I didn't kind of move into that newsletter space until much later. I just wanted to write for me. Like, I had some really heavy stuff going on, and I just wanted to kind of have this cathartic release of these kind of beautiful emotional words and for them to find space. And that was fine, and that was what it was. And some people found me, but I didn't really kind of focus on growing an audience or anything there. It was just a space for me. And that, you know, it felt like one of those, this probably isn't going to be repeated again. You know, it felt really precious. I really liked that nobody knew who I was. You know, nobody from any other online places or in real life other than my husband. So yeah, there are loads of different approaches, but I would say don't get overwhelmed. Don't think you've got to set anything up other than new post, write the post, press publish, you're away.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Okay, right. We are going to get to doing some work, or just saying hello with our link. That's so lovely. Okay, so what I'm going to work on, the way these sessions work is I am going to do some work on my Substack. So the idea is we all go onto our Substacks and we all do a thing. So say to yourself at the beginning what you'd like to do in the time. I'm going to do a guest post over at Company of Two that is scheduled out for Sunday. So I'll make a start on that. I'm not sure how far I'll get. And then we'll come back together and we'll do Jackie's question about notes at the end and anything else that's cropped up for you guys. I've got till about 6:15. So we'll do 20 minutes till 6 of focused writing, and then we'll come back together. If you can stay, you're so welcome. And we'll just do a bit chit chat about notes and then any other questions that you've got about Substack. Okay, have fun. Decide what you're going to do before you go in, and then have fun on Substack. So we'll just have another couple of minutes. I've put the recording back on so I don't forget, but I just thought I wouldn't record 20 minutes of silent writing for those catching up. So I'll let you finish off what you're doing. I'm going to share my screen just so I can answer Jolene's question, but carry on with what you're doing. And just wrap up really gently so that you can finish off your train of thought. So I've got my screen shared here, and this is the bit of the writer profile that I was referencing at the beginning about where your handle lives. So this little button here on the desktop, when you press that, this is where you get to edit your handle. If you want to have a different handle, they might have started already filling it in for you based on your name, but I had to go in and like claim which one I wanted, whether I wanted my publication name or whether I wanted my actual name. So this is where you can edit your bio. You've only got a certain number of characters to do that, and you can connect I am not connecting Facebook in there. You can connect other social medias as well. And I wanted to mention that was here because it does give you some options to pull through now. So when you do a post, if you've got these switched on, you will be able to kind of, like I did this morning, link straight through to LinkedIn, and they can talk to each other from there. So yeah, have a little look and see what you want to do and what you want to put in those boxes there, but don't feel like you have to do it all. If you do that, then what ends up happening is it sits here. So these are the 2 journals that I've written, and then I've got my Instagram, my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my website, and my YouTube. Now at first I didn't have any of that because I was in this space of just being me, and I didn't want people clicking through and like making like snap decisions or judgments about who I was outside of what I wanted to write. That felt really, really important for a long time. And there's still some curiosity in that for me. You know, there still is that, okay, well, now I'm doing things slightly differently here. This feels really important, and it feels important to be transparent, but we don't have to be on all the internet places all the time, do we? So yes, I will say that. I'm going to go across to notes so that I can show Jolene. You're all very quiet. I was just checking I wasn't on mute there. So this is my notes feed. I do have a YouTube tutorial about notes, which I'll share after this so that you can have a little look at that. It's about 20 minutes long. And if you wanted to write your own note, you would do that here. Just seeing, do I want to put that in? Don't need to put that in. So I could obviously write, and you can write really long notes, so they're almost like micro blogs, and you can add photos and things in there as well if you want to. And then if you wanted to restack, and then I'll just go into my feed here. Let's just pick this one by Emma. If I wanted to restack the whole thing, I could press the restack button. I could restack it with a note attached, or I could restack the quote just by highlighting it. So this button here is your restack, or you can, you know, if a quote really speaks to you, you just literally highlight it. If you highlight too much of it, it won't give you the option, it won't pop up. So you need to highlight a bit less, which can sometimes be frustrating. But yeah, that's what you do to restack it. So it's going to give me the option there to restack that, so I could say something lovely about that and post it into notes. So going back to Jackie's question about notes and how that all works, and I guess what you were saying, Jackie, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you were saying about flooding people's inbox with like things that you want to say on notes, so like using it in a more conscious way. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for me, because it's been such a fun place of experimentation and it was brand new in kind of like April time, I just kind of went with a really open mind around, okay, like I feel like saying this, I'll say it. So I tried not to kind of filter myself too much. And then I saw my own notes pop up on my husband's phone. I was like, oh, that is a lot. Like I'm saying a lot of things, but because I don't have notifications turned on in that way. So I have smart notifications, but I have like a lot of them silent. So I have to like, go on and actually look for things. So I hadn't actually realized he was just getting those pop-ups all pulling through. And I was like, wow, like if someone subscribes to me, that feels a lot. And then we had a chat about it and he said, yeah, but none of it's frustrating or annoying. Like this is all really interesting stuff. Like I would click on it if I wanted to read more, but it's just quite nice. Like I already subscribed to you. So part of it is how we manage notifications in life for sure. So I think for me to use notes the way that I do, I could never have notifications turned on. Like it would just bamboozle my brain. So I have smart notifications turned on for Substack, which means that I don't get any emails anymore. So nothing comes into my email inbox. And I find it slightly problematic because it's then like just an app, but it's not. We know it's bigger than that and there's an extension to it. But for me personally, I don't have any pop-ups on my phone. Like people can barely ring me, to be honest. I just have it all off all the time because I find that then I'm more purposeful about what I create rather than being pulled into different stories and different things going on with notifications. So I think the first point is that. And then secondly, with notes, people get into a bit of a rhythm with it. So some people have like a regular thread on a Saturday that invites something and they get really busy and really popular. Any note to do with Substack and how we're feeling about Substack, or if Substack's introduced something new, they do really, really well as well. And they can push your work out to more people. So if we wanted to be tactical about growth, then talking about Substack as a topic is really good to do. And including other people in the conversation is really, really good to do. If you just wanted to share your own work and you just wanted to kind of have it out there like a bulletin board, just kind of like a bus was driving past, that is literally the analogy, because people are less likely to kind of comment if there's not a question or if there's not a way for them to engage. Because if they are going to the post, they'll comment there rather than comment on the note about the post, if that makes sense. So what I tend to do is invite more conversation, and they don't all go anywhere, but some of them have hung around for like longer than a week. So they've kept coming up in different people's feed, and I've kept having the little notifications on my phone when I open the app to say somebody else has kind of joined in the conversation. So the feed is longer than typical social media time where something is kind of been and gone, like your poster on a bus. So I feel like it can really fit into your strategy with how you're posting, but it can also enhance finding new people to read your work. It can enhance conversation. It can enhance depth of connection. It can help you to get to know other writers on the platform. So there's lots of different ways to use it. And I think that when the people that are using it consistently and do the same thing like every day of the week, it's nice, it's just like, oh, there they are again, I could join in or not. So it's like kind of if one of the neighbors is having like a few drinks in the garden, you might stop and chat for a bit and then you might walk past, so there's those sorts of opportunities as well on notes. In terms of self-promotion, and Substack have said this as well and interviewed people about this, they say it's not for that, but I find that really difficult to believe, because I think that everything that we do is self-promotion. Like if we're saying it, we're promoting our own voice, which is self-promotion. So I think we just need to be less wrapped up in that and more connected to what it can be for us as a social media platform, because essentially that's what it is. And lots of people are still wondering about, okay, but this is something else to do as well as Substack. And what I would say to that is it didn't exist for a full year when I was on Substack, and I didn't miss it. And I could just put it down tomorrow, but I like connecting on there. I like hearing from other people. So I do like using it. But to go back to Jolene's point about the overwhelm, I think that it can become very overwhelming if you're kind of consuming everybody else's content. So just being mindful about that. Is there anything, Jackie, that you were thinking about in terms of specifics? Like, I'd like to share this on notes, and you wanted to kind of talk it over with the group?
Well, I just think there's a couple of things that come to mind. One is like, I've tried it and then didn't get any, and you know, it's that, oh, well, that hasn't worked.
Yeah, I see
Oh
what
no,
you
you have to do it more than once.
mm-hmm.
There needs to be some consistency. So I think there's that. I think then there's other bits like so I share quite a lot of my poems on Instagram and things. And the whole reason I joined Substack was to get off Instagram, but I've kind of slowly gone back on there again. But actually that would be a quite nice way of, I could just post the videos on my notes and say, oh, I've just put this on Instagram, because some of them, you know, relate to things going on in the news and stuff like that. Or
Yeah. I think that it's very gentle, like my notes feed. So if there's anybody that kind of flashes into my feed that's like aggro or talking about politics and stuff like that, I just mute them, because I'm just really not there for that. I'm just there for gentle support, generosity, conversation, discovering other writers, discovering other creatives. I think that getting people to move from notes to another platform is difficult, and would be, and it's the same on any platform. Like Instagram say that, like, we're not about getting people to move from Instagram to Substack, for example. So they haven't said this out loud, but lots of people who are real kind of in the know in Instagram have said that Substack as a word is kind of muted on Instagram. So if you're saying, here's my new Substack, they're saying, we're not going to show that to many people. And that is just how their algorithm works. So they don't want people leaving the Instagram platform. They want to keep people on there. And there are lots of ways around this in terms of you still being able to share your work. I think the media assets are great that Substack produce, those images with the text overlaid on top, and you can just paste a bit of your writing and then a teaser to like the link in bio thing. But I stopped using Instagram because it had died for me, to be honest. Like, I had built it up to over 3,000 followers over there, but I just didn't feel like I was getting any connection. There was nothing was happening. And part of that is because I pivoted my work during the pandemic and then back again. So some of it was the noise of the pandemic and like where everyone was connecting, but a lot of it is Instagram and how difficult it is to kind of use as a platform. So if people are still seeing and connecting to your work on Instagram, that's amazing. And I think definitely work it in. But the reason that I'd put content ecosystem on today's agenda was because a lot of my clients are just feeling so burnt out with like, oh, but there's all of these different places to share what it is that I have to say, and I'm running a business as well. So what do I do? And that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of, just flag up today and just kind of chat to you all about, really, and see if anyone's finding any traction with any other social media platforms, how it's working on notes, how it's all feeling.
I think that's just a really good point, because I think, you know, what you're saying is you've made a commitment to Substack, and that's worked. And it is, like you say, when you're nurturing an ecosystem, you've actually got to be there rather, which is typical me of being kind of spread in lots of places. And I'm not trying to drag people from one or the other. It's just I've created content that I would like people to see. You know, I don't really care where they see it. And I take your note as well about being like not political stuff. It's not that I'm being political. I'm actually offering kind of psychological insight sometimes into
no, I wouldn't have meant your stuff. I just mean, you know, if it's like really shouty stuff around like American wannabe presidents, I'm like, oh no, that's not for me. Like, that's what I meant by that political stuff. Like, I'm all for a political debate for sure, but I think, you know, sometimes when you're like, oh no, that's just not all what I'm on notes for, like that sort of stuff you can mute if it's helpful, because I think, you know, there is an algorithm at play on notes, and that can help people get to know what you're about and what you're trying to strike conversation about, and what you're trying to do in terms of, let's have a polarizing conversation and this is a safe space to do it. Like, if that's what you want to do, that's really healthy, isn't it?
I put a question in chat, but what about Medium? I'm hearing kind of negative things coming out of the Medium platform. Anybody know anything?
Yeah, I don't use it personally, but I do subscribe to a writer that does post over on Medium as well. So they've said like a few bits and bobs about it. But yeah, I've never been on there. I've never used it. I have read a couple of articles, but that's all. I don't know whether anybody else is using it or trying to cross post
I'm a
Substacks across
user.
there?
I'm a writer on Medium.
Okay, yeah.
Medium is I've been there for 2 years, as long as I've been on Substack. And hi, I'm Audra. I'm
Hi,
over here
Audra,
in
lovely to
Delft,
meet you.
Holland. I'm just totally creeping up like a complete total rookie. I've been writing like Claire's journey, where it was just cathartic stuff as part of my healing journey, blah, blah, blah. And I started doing that in the pandemic. And then I joined Substack and Medium, and I wanted to see the difference between both of the platforms. So over here on Substack, I'm preaching yoga, metaphysical topics, astrology, mental health, and a little bit of a learn-war. So I'm tying in storytelling elements, and then I'm capturing how to, or what my learnings were, and then wrapping up with mental health resources. And that's kind of part of my publication strategy. Now, over on Medium, I write erotica.
Oh, completely
So,
different. Yeah.
so I write under a pen name, and it's all published anonymously. So I have not a very big audience there, because I do nothing to promote it and there's no strategy behind it. But that is what Medium is good for. Instead of subscribing to the owner of the content, you're subscribing to the platform, so that you pay €6 a month and you get all access to all articles. So as a writer or content generator, you need to be generating a lot of content. So what I've seen happen since the last year with the invention of AI and the infiltration of AI is you have a lot of these writers that are coming out of, well, I don't want to say India or Pakistan, but a lot of these writers that are writing how-to guides that are all AI generated content, and they're really very short pieces. And it's like how to become a better writer, how to make €3,000 in 1 month on Medium. So it's really gimmicky. There's no quality that I'm finding. There is, but it's limited. With content on Substack, it's really, I mean, we're getting big names here, right? I've been on Substack for a while, and when I first joined, it was like total crickets. And I only joined because Robert Reich was over there, and he's a socialist in America, and he's very passionate to me. So I joined Substack thinking that I could put my content there and share. Medium is very gimmicky, and I would not recommend it if you want to really go with quality work. If you want to just churn out articles and get stuff spread across quickly, then it's a good platform.
And would you advise people could post their Substack content over there as well, like duplicate it over there? Would it be worth doing that? Or
Yeah, so I've got a girlfriend, because part of my story is burnout and talking about burnout recovery, and so I've got a girlfriend over there doing that, a few of them, and they're actively on LinkedIn talking about the same thing and promoting their brand on Medium and trying to get more subscribers, and it's working, and it has worked for the last 18 months that I've been watching them. So I've been taking notes from them and kind of doing that over on Substack. And I was only, when I first joined Substack for the first year, I was just writing for myself for selfish reasons. And then I would share the URL link with the people that I knew wanted to read my stuff. And then I only started interacting with the community 2 months ago.
wow, okay, yeah, amazing. And that's the thing, isn't it? We can just take up space the way that we want to. Like, we don't have to feel any pressure. It's there, isn't it? We know the Substack community is there and it's growing, but we can just write, and we can turn comments off. Like, if we don't want to engage a community, we can turn likes off, we can turn comments off, we can do all that stuff. So that's super interesting about Medium. There are all of these options, aren't there? And it's coming back to that why. Like, there are writers that need to and want to, earn a decent living, and there are creatives with the same kind of focus on Substack. And the paywall it's such an invitation for the first time, here in the UK, like the cost of living crisis is crushing to the arts and charity sector. Like, it is crushing. Like, we are all worried around how the sector is going to survive, and we need to be resourceful. We need to think about new ways of sharing our work and charging for our kind of valuable stuff. So yeah, super interesting. I think it was good what you said about LinkedIn as well, because I was just going to mention that I have started using LinkedIn again just this last year. I just had it as like an online CV for a long time, but then I've started using it. I've got the group over there, Substack Writers and Creatives, so that people can network eventually. That's my plan, to do some networking over there. But it has been interesting. There have been a few people come over, and I have my LinkedIn pulled through to Twitter. I would have pulled my Twitter account down completely because I wasn't using it, and it's just, you know, it's just a bit of a kind of bin fire, isn't it, over there? But I actually use the follow account in funding applications, and I've got 1,000 followers over there. So it was like, okay, like I'll just have to leave it up. So I just pull through my LinkedIn posts. So anytime I'm talking about Substack and I add the URL, don't know how LinkedIn's algorithm works, but you know, it's there, it goes through to Twitter, it takes seconds, and I'm just in a bit of a routine of doing that once a week. So that's been working for me. I am going back to Instagram in the autumn. That's my plan. And I'll see how I feel, because I felt quite negative using the platform for a while. And that's why I just ditched it completely in June and just thought, I'm just going to go all in on Substack. I'm going to just put beautiful stuff where people have got some attention span, because I think a lot of it is to do with attention span and shiny things. And I think I was really struggling to get anybody to read anything over there. In terms of other social media, I know Amber was in the chat earlier. She does really great posts over on Facebook, and she gets a lot of engagement from people that work with her in real life on Facebook. And Substack have given us the opportunity to plug in Facebook, to plug in our Facebook contacts. It's not for me, because I know it would just be two different worlds colliding, because I only use Facebook for like my commissioned work. So that's not for me, but it is there if you want to do it. I think that with everything, it's that whole get a big piece of paper and just note down which platforms you're on. Do you want to ditch any? Do you want to experiment with any? Do you want to do a month trying it one way? Do you want to kind of reflect on that and have a look at your numbers? Do you need me to share in statistics on Substack where people find your Substack from, or do you all know where that is? Because I wanted to do that if people didn't know where it was. It's in basically in statistics, there we go. It will show you how many people have come across from all of the different platforms. So it's everything from all of the different search engines, Instagram, Linktree, like if you've got your Linktree plugged into your Instagram, Twitter, they're all there, and you can see how many clicks and then how many subscribes have come over from there. So it's well worth looking at that at least once a month, because if you are putting some energy into Instagram and the goal is to get subscribes and you're not, then you know, don't you? But if your goal is just for people to see your work, then it's fine. It's great, you know, great. Get it out to as many places as you can. Knowing that the place where there is always going to be a URL for it is Substack, which is fab. So great. Okay, I'll just have a quick check-in the chat and then we'll wrap up really soon. Okay, that's just Lindsay saying that discussion. Yeah, brilliant. Is there anything else anybody would like to ask before we wrap up for this session? I've put some more session ideas in a post and asked for feedback if people kind of want to run with one of them first and prioritize that, and, you know, just kind of getting a measure of where everybody's at. But the chat is always open for members. I open it at least 3 days a week, every week. So you can literally just type your question and I'll get right back to you within like UK kind of daytime hours. So I'm always there for you if there's anything at all. And I'll quite often I'll have made a YouTube tutorial about it, because I did make quite a lot of them before the summer. So sometimes I'll have done a screen share and a tutorial, so you can kind of follow along and fathom out how to do something if it's something on the tech side. But yeah, is there anything else before we go, guys? You're so welcome to ask any other questions if you had any, or if not, I'll let you go off and have your tea or do whatever it is that you're doing on your side of the world. Lovely. Okay, well, I so appreciate you being here. It's been so lovely to connect with you. I know we've jumped over quite a lot of different territory today on Substack, but I just really wanted to sort of start with some of those deeper questions, and hopefully you can carry on in your own journals and notebooks, and you can ask yourself some of those questions as you're showing up to the page. Come and chat to me. I'm there anytime. Thanks again, everyone.